Hello, members. Tom Morrison here from Nashville, Tennessee, from your corporate offices. I'm here. I'm standing this month, guys. I'm standing for this show. Normally, I'm sitting down. I wanted some freedom of movement to see the members out there, so I hope you're listening in well. Today, we have our leadership of MTI, which we don't get to hear from all the time, but we thought it would be great for members to be able to tap in and hear what are our executive committee and our leaders thinking after 6 months of COVID and this crazy 2020 thing that we've been all going through. So a couple things before we get into talking to them is to your right. If you're looking at your screen, if you hover down below, you'll see a bar pop up that has chat. Click on chat and it pops up the chat line on the right hand side. You can easily type in the messages down at the bottom if you want, and you can make comments, or we would love it if you've got any questions. These are your top 4 leaders in the organization for 2020. If you have any questions whatsoever on anything, we'd love you to chime in and just ask away, and I'm going to monitor that box and ask any questions that come up. So things about MTI happenings. Well, the number one happening, the only thing happening between now and the end of the year is Furnace's North American Virtual. You can see it right behind our president, Jim, right there. Lean to the left, Jim. There you go. You can see it, F&A Virtual. It's going to be a crazy time with 37 technical sessions, 4 live sessions. I know we're going to talk at the end of this show about that and why you want to get as many of your people registered and engaged with the program as you can. I just see Ron Belks from the Midwest said, hi, everyone. Good to see you, Ron. So let's jump in. So what I'd like to do first is, not many people are familiar. They're familiar with Jim Oakes because he's come on these shows before, but I want each of you to introduce yourselves and what you are to MTI and tell a little bit about your operation. So Jim Orr, let's start with you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jim Orr. I am president of Penna Flame Industries in Zelian-Opal, PA. We are a flame hardening company, surface flame hardening. Family business, the 3rd generation is now in place. And we're hoping to continue forward.
And Jim is our treasurer. He's the man watching the money, and we're doing okay, right, Jim?
We are doing very well this year. Thank you for all the support of the members, sponsors, associate members. Can't thank you guys enough.
Awesome. Well, Don Hendry, let's go to you.
Don Hendry. I'm with Pinson Valley Heat Treating, owner of Pinson Valley, and been a member since probably the late 80s. Kind of felt all alone until I got in MTI and found a lot of brothers and sisters in the heat treat, and it's been great since then. Been really. I am the vice chair this year and understudy to Jim Oakes, learning a lot from him and these other guys on the executive committee. It's been a great year being part of this team.
Yeah, no, Don, you're absolutely right. I've seen our members mapped out on a United States and Canada map. And when you look at the members that from a top, there's all the members up here, and then right down there in Alabama, Pinson Valley Heat Treating. We're glad you got involved with everybody.
So are we.
All right, Jamie, you're next.
Yeah, my name's Jamie Jones. I'm from Solar Atmospheres in Souderton, Pennsylvania. I'm the immediate past president of the MTI this year. And I'm president of Solar Atmospheres here in Souderton. I've been working here for 25 years.
Awesome. Well, Jamie, how did it feel to hand off this mess called 2020 to Jim Oakes?
I felt really bad for Jim and the rest of the guys. Yeah, this is tough. You know, I thought I had a lot of phone calls before, 2 years ago or last year. Then this year happened. It's a big difference.
You know, I have felt bad a little bit for Jim because we left our board meeting in January, and I remember everybody leaving January 20th from the winter board meeting, and the economy was raging, sales were at all-time highs, and everything was on, and we were all leaving, laughing, having a good time, and everybody got back on January 22nd, like one of the first COVID cases hit in the United States, and it's all been crazy since. But we've weathered the storm, as everybody said. We've come through it, I think, muscling through it. So Jim Oakes, what about you?
Thanks, Tom. I'm Jim Oakes. I'm the current president of MTI. I am with Super Systems located in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm the president here. Super Systems is a supplier to the industry. We've, I think, been members since day one when the associates were allowed in. If not, it was 1 or 2 years just after that. And you know, it's quite an honor to be part of this organization. And even a greater honor to be recognized with the leadership. And you look at the history here of the people that were engaged in this and still engaged today. And you know, I got to pinch myself at times to think about the position that I'm in. So I certainly appreciate it. And I certainly appreciate all the efforts that the board, the executive team, all the members, the committees, and then Tom Morrison Associates put in to this effort as I am president of COVID-19. I mean the MTI Treating Institute. So thank you.
Well, it's been a good year. It's been a pleasure to work with this team here. When COVID started in kind of February, March, we literally were meeting out. Sometimes I have separation anxiety because we normally meet once a month on every first Wednesday to go over big association stuff, kind of make sure we're hitting our strategic planning goals. And once COVID started deep in March, we were meeting every single Wednesday, every single week. Did that for probably 2.5 months to make sure we were listening to members, finding their challenges, and offering up things to that. So great. I want to hand my hats off to this team here. I want to let members know you have an incredible, strong set of leaders at the top of the food chain, really looking over things and managing, pushing things too. So I appreciate all y'all's work. So let's get into some of the things. So what I wanted to accomplish today for members, give them a chance to ask questions if they want, but more so just to talk about the strength of what's going on in our companies, your companies, what that means to the association, how the association's reacting, and then what we feel a little bit about what's going to happen between now and the end of the year. So Jamie, let's kind of start off with you. But what do you think of looking at the last 6 months in COVID? What have been some of the big factors that have played into your solar success and moving through this time? I mean, a lot of people revenues could be down for many companies. They're having to let people go or struggling with not letting them go because they don't want them to go to the competition. So for solar, what has been kind of some of the key factors to help you muscle through this time?
Yeah, well, in this time, it's hard to be immune to what's going on in the world. So it's tough to find the successes, but you just got to take what you can get. Me personally, I would say it depends on your market share. The different markets that you serve, and being as diverse as you can helps in the success of your business. My location, it's down about 10%, which I'm very thankful for. Other people are down worse. Our other locations aren't doing as, they're more than 10% down, and it goes to where they're at in the country and then the markets that they serve. In the Northeast, we have a bunch of different markets here that we can serve. The other thing, even before the virus started, the commercial aircraft was starting to go down because of the 737. So we started to see some tail off when the 737 started having some problems, and then the virus hit, and then everything started to tank. Even the medical. I mean, we were pretty heavily into the medical, but they stopped doing the elective surgeries, so that industry went down as well. So I guess it depends on the markets that you're in, and being as diverse as you can to help, flatten that curve up or down. Well, hopefully when it's going up, it's a more steep curve, but
Well, you definitely want to make sure you're part of the essential business community. You want to be tied to industries that are tied into that for sure.
Yeah. The first couple of weeks, I mean, that's everything all of us were trying to do is get those letters from the essential, the primes and the essential businesses so we could stay open, which we did.
Now, Jim Orr, I know in Pennsylvania, I mean, they've been fairly strict, if I'm not mistaken, on during this whole thing. But I mean, how did y'all kind of muscle through those first few months?
The first few months were, actually the first few weeks were very, very difficult. The governor pretty much shut us down. We were down for a day, and then we started back up right away. And really, it was the most difficult thing was dealing with the employees. We just turned their lives upside down. We changed starting times. We changed shifts. We took their coffee away. We took their water away. We only let certain people sit down to eat. And it was just trying to get everybody to say, hey, look, this is real.
Yeah.
What's been difficult is that it's lasted a lot longer. They still don't have coffee. They still have to sit far apart. But everybody's working together, and it's communications. We try to communicate constantly. And I do show them the MTI reports that you send out weekly. I show them, look, we're not in this alone. This is a national thing, and we're all in this together. And be patient.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, Jim. I mean, I would say if you're not participating in the weekly check-ins that we do, you should really answer those, because that is valuable data that really keep your teams abuzz, because everybody kind of feels like they're alone in these moments, right? And then all of a sudden you get the reports and you see, wow, everybody's going through the same stuff. We got to hunker down together and move this. That's great stuff, Jim. So Don, being alone down there in Pinson Valley, how have y'all been shaping up in Alabama?
Well, right at first, things never slowed down, and we never closed down. Our governor didn't shut us down. We were an essential business, and for I guess March, April, and even into May, we were beginning to get confident that maybe this wasn't going to affect us, but it eventually did. The supply chain for our customers started shutting down as they couldn't get different parts from around the world, and so their orders started being pushed out for the products that we were heat treating. So it is definitely affecting us now, and we're down more like 30% or maybe even more in the month of August. And so and I would echo what Jim Orr said about communication. Through the MTI, we've been able to, and other things that we're members of, be able to, as leaders of our company, find information. But if we just keep it to ourselves, it doesn't do as much good as if we share that with our employees, and communicating with them and over communicating with them, and as things have changed, telling them why there's changes. So and with customers also. So I just would echo that what Jim said. And let me ask you, Tom, are you going on to the second question? Was that a segue, or are we still on question one?
Well, I'm going to segue. I was going to ask Jim Oakes as a supplier what he's kind of seen the last 6 months.
Well, so
yes.
for us, I mean, it was, we kind of had to navigate the same way everybody else did. Business was impacted. As soon as a heat treater's business is impacted, we're impacted. And you can see that at different stages, you had different effects. And, the supply chain did get broken. So, for us, it was we're in the state of Ohio. We are essential business based off of course, what the credentials that MTI provides, but also because of our customer base as well. So we stayed open, we have two different buildings here that we operate out of. So we had to adjust the way that we communicated between buildings and work between buildings. So there's some, just to isolate, and because you don't want to lose a key individual or have an infection of the virus in one area and then cross-contaminate. So you think through all these things.
Right.
And honestly, it was conversations with other MTI members that enabled us to work through some of those. So it's been a great resource. But yeah, it's been tough. It's just like everybody else, kind of feeling the pain of COVID.
This particular element of the COVID crisis to me really demonstrated the power and value of being a member of an association that can react on a nimble and do it very quickly. Because I remember that moment when it was actually Mary Springer from the Midwest called me in the morning and sent a letter to me that she was sending to her governor and her mayor about the whole essential business thing, is when it became a big topic. And she sent me a copy of what the essential businesses were. And she said, Tom, you think I could get a letter that could help me stay open and keep myself as an essential business from our national trade group? And I started looking at it. Literally, I got on the phone with you four, and literally by the end of the day, we had an essential business letter approved, and it was out to members' hands by the end of the day. And I had calls from members one time, thank you so much for getting that letter in my hands, because I needed that in my billywig of tricks and stuff to really document that we need to stay open for our people and for the things that we service. So I think that moment was a huge moment of how quickly and how fast an association can really pull their resources together and get members what they need right in the instant moment. And hats off to this team, because I know some associations, it had taken a week to get that through. So very good. So for all of y'all, so in this last 6 months, huge behavioral changes that many memes on the internet, tons of things that you see about behavioral changes as COVID. In your businesses, what kind of different things have you seen over the last 6 months? Whether maybe it's new challenges that came out of COVID, what new challenges and or new behaviors have you begun to witness in your plants?
I can go first again if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the beginning, I would say the biggest challenges, one of the largest challenges, if somebody was sick or not. Some people, they use a sick day or a personal day just to take some time off to get something done around the house. Now we're asking them, are you really sick, or are you just taking a day off?
Right.
And if you are sick, now you got to call your doctor and go get a test before you come back. So that was something that even the employees didn't even really think about, is, are you really sick, or are you just taking a day off to, get a project done at home?
Right.
Yeah.
What else? Anything else y'all seen or witnessed in your plants?
Some of the things that we've seen, just things that we had never considered doing before, like what we're doing right now with a Zoom meeting, and finding how we can use those kind of tools to even have meetings internally. And we're having a lot of our meetings internally, especially early on Zoom, and we're finding a lot of those we'll continue to do after this is gone and behind us. We'll continue to have certain meetings on Zoom because they just really work better. And some things controlling the trucks, contractors, salespeople into our plant. We didn't think we could afford the infrastructure, the overhead to do that, but we're actually seeing benefits to our whole operation as we do control that, and the communication into the plant, which we're over about 12 acres. So being able to communicate into the plant what's coming their way and control that, and even stop some of those things from going into the plant and control that, we'll continue to do. So we're seeing a lot of things we did for COVID that we're going to continue to do because and even teaching our people about hygiene. We did a lot of education on the front end of this thing, but what applies to that applies to every flu season or, whatever. It's just good training. And so that's going to be a continuing part of our safety program even after this is gone.
Awesome. Now, Jim Oaks, I know I was at your plant. You have two different plants that are on separate sides. And I think you indicated y'all had to keep people in those plants when they normally get to walk back and forth. And how did that kind of work out?
Well, technology was a big enabler there. So just taking advantage of Zoom meetings. I mean, to this day, we're still doing it, just like Don is taking advantage of that. But really, it was just setting up procedures in place to make sure when you're bringing goods back and forth. I mean, we have all of our production processes over in the second building, which those employees really have to be there working. Other sales administration and some the other activities you could do from your home office. So we were able to take advantage of remote workplaces for some of our employees, but not everybody. But just back and forth, it's good communication. Then kind of as things loosened up a little bit, and we've had better procedures in place, could allow for really the walking between the buildings. And now it's we act as one. It's because you have the right procedures, the right people. It's our herd, if you will.
Right.
But we're all acting responsible. And I think there's more that's known about the transmission. And plus, honestly, it's summertime and doors are open, and you have access to lots of fresh air and stuff like that. So
Better than cold and cooped up, right?
Yep.
That makes people angry, right?
It does.
So Jim Orr, I know you talked a lot. You mentioned the social distancing stuff a great deal and things that you are doing. How's that impacting the morale? I mean, how are your people now? We've been in it 6 months. What's the tone of your employees and how are they reacting to all the new steps?
They grouchy some days and acceptance on Thursdays and Fridays. They get real happy towards the end of the week.
I bet. No. Now, Don and Jamie, what about your guys' plans? I mean, how have they received all the stuff that's been having to come down?
Our guys have been pretty good about everything. They understand the situation, and just they're thankful to have a job. There's a lot of people out there right now that don't have jobs. I mean, the job market is coming back, but in the beginning it was really bad, and they were just happy to have a job and to just see work coming in our door.
Right. What about you, Don?
Yeah, we the same. And when this first started, they were glad for the most part to have a job. We had a few people that just weren't comfortable, and they took a leave of absence because they just weren't comfortable with it. But we tried through procedures and education to let people know how they could be safe here, and that has loosened up as Jim said, as we learn more about it, and I think just knowledge is power. That you overcome fear with good procedures and good knowledge. Awesome.
Well, it's great to see people coming together and really helping each other. I mean, Jim Oaks, have you Have you seen or heard any stories, I mean, through this process of just members helping members walk through this moment?
Absolutely. I personally can speak of that on a weekly, at least a weekly basis. You know, it's nice to have an opportunity to reach out to other MTI members, whether it's associates or heat treaters. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. We're trying to run a business, and you know, whether it's an HR issue, whether it's an OSHA issue, all of those are kind of right in the forefront, and they're relevant right now. So absolutely. I mean, I've talked to Don before. I've talked to Jamie. I've talked to Pete Hushick or Tim Levy or Glenn Ottinger. I mean, you know, part of it is reaching out just to get a feel for how they're doing, how business is in a different region. I mean, I do that all the time. I think it's important to understand that provides a little bit of moral support that, you know, we're all in this together. I don't know if it was Jim or Don or Jamie that said that, but it's true. We are all in this together. So reach out, get that support from the membership. And I tell you, it's been great. And Mary Springer as well. I kind of leaned on her a couple times just to bounce some ideas off of. So,
you know, I've been in this now for 15 years at MTI, and what I've always loved about this organization is that it does not matter how big, how small, where you are as a business owner. If you just pick up the phone and call somebody across America and say, hey, I'm a fellow MTI member, and I'd just like a few minutes of your time. I've never heard anybody say that an MTI member say, no, I ain't got time. Everybody will always give you the time you need to help you out. And I think that's what's powerful about this group. And so if you're listening into this and you've never called another MTI member, I think all four of these gentlemen would encourage you to pick the phone up if you're reaching a moment where I just need some outside input. Don't ever feel scared to go on your app or go on the website and just grab somebody in the opposite side of the coast if you're worried about competitive things, and just call them and tell them you just got a few questions. You want to get some input, especially if they're a board member, you know, because they're hearing a lot of things from the global aspect and the big picture stuff. So yeah, so really reach out and use the membership like that.
Yeah, and Tom, just, you know, to really add to that, I mean, that's part of what our meetings are all about.
Right.
People are starving for that interaction. And I've had a couple members say, you know, they're just dying for, you know, for that activity. Well, you know, we're not going to be able to do it. I mean, we're pivoting, which I'm sick of that term pivot, but we pivoted, and that's the route we're going. But that's the value of having that membership. Is it face to face? It's not face to face, but you know, the information, the partnership is still there.
Right. Absolutely. So Jim Oakes, you've been walking through a lot of different industry issues. So what are some of the big industry issues you think members listening and people that will watch this later on the replay, what are some of the big industry issues transitioning out of COVID? Now COVID, let's assume COVID's done.
Yeah.
Now we're going to the future, and we now got to get back to doing heat treat. What are some of the big heat treat things that plant owners and all executives working in a plant need to pay attention to?
Yeah, well, I look at just number one, you know, I actually was thinking about some different things around these topics, and it's like, okay, well, you have government regulations, so OSHA, state, federal, all related to COVID, right?
Right.
And then you have other things that are outside of that, which could be specifications. Well, CQI 9, AMS 2750, you know, those are really important. Well, you know, those are some things that it affects everybody, maybe in different ways, but that's how you might process things or how you might be audited. So those are things that you really have to bring to be looking at. I started to go through this and think about the things that we need to be thinking about, process related, labor related. And then, you know, I start to think to myself, well, looking at all that, it's like, I feel like I'm doing a commercial for MTI because we have all the, you know, there's a lot of resources that we provide for that. And it's true. I know I look at what I've gained from a resource standpoint just over the last 6 months with the whole COVID stuff. And I look, you know, for what the next 6 months on top of this is. Well, that's going to be forecasting. Where is the business? What are we going to see? The industry specs, AMS 2750 revision F, which was released in June. What effects does that have on us or the heat treaters? What effects does CQI 9 have? So, you know, we have to be looking at that. And the other thing, you know, this is an election year.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of information out there. there's a big push to get people out to vote, and it's important. It's there's a big separation, if you will, and I'm a Main Street guy. I look at what I have in front of me. We try run a business, taking care of the people, keep people safe. So those are the important things, and I think that's on the mind of all of our members as well.
Right. I think last election, a study came out that showed that most employees, almost 90% of them, rely on their employer for information on a lot of different areas, with elections being one of them. So employers out there watching and listening in, don't take it too lightly. I don't think you want to push your views on people, but just the important thing is get your people to get educated to the local legislators and national, and just get them out to vote, period. And don't take it lightly that they don't pay attention to you. That's NAM showed us that the number one place people go is their employee bulletin board, if it's there, to see what am I going to get on it. And I'd rather our employers be doing that than the national media and stuff. So get your people out there to get out and vote. Anybody else? Don, Jamie, Jim, any other comments on industry issues?
No, I can't think of anything.
I would say Jim Oakes really. That's why he's president. Yeah. He's something else like that. Love that guy. So
going back to the last election, NAM had a really nice thing of everybody that was all the candidates and how their views were, what they voted for, and their record basically. It was all non-biased. You could post it on your bulletin board. I don't know if they're doing that again.
You said that. I just emailed them today to ask. I wanted to try and get, because in about a week we're going to be 60 days out, and I want to try and have something on our website that takes people to something like that. So we're actually checking into that to see if we can come up with something like that.
Good.
I haven't noticed it on NAM's website, but I'm trying to find a third party that's really non-biased that we can stick out there that'll speak to the issues and the candidates so that people can make an informed choice. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yep. So
let's jump in. So Jim and any of the other board members can speak. I want you to speak from a member's heart about what you've seen as a member, but also as a board member. So how do you feel like the board has functioned and really responded in 2020 to all the stuff going on around us? I mean, you've been in two meetings. We've had one live meeting and two virtual meetings. So how do you feel they've responded?
Well, I'll start, first of all, the gentlemen on this phone have been fantastic from an executive standpoint to accommodate the need to make changes and to plan appropriately. The board has been great. I think a lot of the people on the board listen to the members. They're not thinking of themselves, so it's a selfless thing. They're thinking of the industry. And the benefit, not just for the heat treater, and there's a lot of times they're thinking of the associate members, and it's really the health of this organization. Mm-hmm. So, and really the goal is to provide good content to the membership. It's leveraging the resource that we have with TMA, Tom Morrison Associates, and your team, and making sure that we package that information that can be utilized. And I personally think that it's been great to get some of these industry leading experts that have been out there to provide good content, to give us an opportunity to make the right decisions in our business, and then plan appropriately as we move forward, whether it's sales, labor, HR, OSHA, et cetera. All of those things we've done a great job with. And I again, I'm going to thank the board. Thank the committee members, the executive committee included in that, and just say everybody's been so supportive, and it's been great going through this.
Awesome.
It's been horrible going through this, but it's been great with that team.
Hey, we've got to see you 22 times this year?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, lucky.
John, you're going to be taking this over as president in the future here at some point. So what's kind of been your thought through your mind as you watch the board tackle issues?
Yeah, being on the board itself, and just seeing how it works with people from all different parts of the country, and that wisdom that all comes in from the group that helps us make those decisions. There's no way the five of us could come to a decision without the input of everybody on the board and the greater membership. This year, just shadowing Jim and learning from that, I got to say, I was really looking forward to doing that at some meetings, and all our meetings have been virtual, and thank goodness for the one that we've got coming up in the end of September that we can't even do it virtually. That's going to be something we'll talk about here in a minute. But I also talk about the wisdom of the board that the board decided that we would keep the board and this executive committee in place for another year, and I'm hoping and praying that things will open up and we'll have meetings in person, so that I'll have the benefit of seeing you and Jim and others in action at those meetings from this perspective. But this is just being on the board in general, and certainly being on this executive committee has just blessed me in so many ways. I've grown a lot.
That's awesome. Now, Jim Orr, what about you? You're the treasurer. You've been watching the money for about 3 years now. What's been seen through your eyes?
Well, Tom, the thing that's been very helpful is it's not just the current board, it's the past board members and past presidents. I have reached out to past people for some advice, and even though they're not on, they're still very, very helpful. It is a great group. And our members, I mean, we made an offer earlier this year to waive dues, and our members said, no, we're going to support the organization. And
That was powerful.
They really did, and it really helped.
So, I mean, you talk about the past presidents. I mean, I remember about probably 6 years ago, Doug Peters, who was the 2000 president, said it best, and it described MTI, is that when you take big issues and you put good people in a room together, only good things are going to happen. I think that truly describes what happens when MTI members from all the diverse backgrounds and parts of the country come into that room. They really put their personalities to the side, say, what can we do to help the heat treater and the supplier that supports them in the marketplace? It's been exciting to watch that happen during this past year for sure. Let's talk a little bit about I want members to get practical examples about how you're tapping into our services and our programs to really use them. So Jim Orr, I know we just recently brought on Nick Espinosa as a industry support team partner in the area of cybersecurity. And I want you to tell your story about kind of how you tapped into him.
Tom, I'll give everybody just a quick brief overview. We went to Vancouver. I sat in the room and I watched Nick talk. I went back to our people and I said, here's all the things that we've got to start looking at for cybersecurity attacks. And everybody just kind of looked and says, oh man, are we in trouble? So we went out to local managed providers, the little mom and pop shop that we had for years. We just outgrew them. And we got proposals back. We had no idea what we were doing. And I called Nick and I said, hey, I was at the seminar. Can you help me? He said, absolutely. We sent him the proposals. He looked at everything. We then went back to the people and said, not only have we reviewed your proposal, but we've gone out to an industry expert, an MTI associate, laid everything out to them, told them who he was, and said, how about you redo your proposal to us? Boy, that cleaned things up quite a bit. We finally got something we can work with, and about a month ago, we finally signed with one of the local people in Pittsburgh. And it's too soon to tell how many thousands of dollars Nick has saved us. But if you think your internet's safe, I suggest you take this time when you can't travel and do a lot of things. Have Nick take a look at things for you, because he's a character and he couldn't have been more helpful to our little company.
Well, that's awesome to hear that. So members, if you're not aware, if you go out to our website, our main website is heattreat.net, and you look in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see a link for industry support team. You click there, you'll have Nick there. There's an HR consultant who's spoken at our meetings and done some webcasts for us, Chad Sorensen. You've got Dan Herring on metallurgical and technical support. You've got Randy Junkins and EPA. I mean, just a plethora of consultants that are here for one reason, to serve you. And every one of their phone calls is traditionally free to be able to get some guidance. And then if you want to get into their services, they'll give you discount rates on their services and what you negotiate with them. But you have an entire team. I think it's like 9 consultants in different areas. I challenge you to go out there and just look at it and just look through them and say, okay, I know we've got Tom Morrison Associates that manages MTI with their 4 people, but now I have another 9 people out here that in these different areas that are big deals that can really help you out, especially ocean safety. Huge, massive deal. Rick Koletsky's been a part of our association as a safety consultant for a decade or more. So good stuff to be in there. So Don, I know you have used the training, the MTI online training, a great deal. And I know you told the story about how you would get your team members together, take courses, and then come down and say, what does it mean to me And then how do we implement that plan? How did that have an impact on your operation?
Right. And we've been part of that since the beginning, and different people would take those courses and they'd go through and they'd learn what they learn and take the test and pass it. And I began to realize that, they passed the test, but what did they really learn, and how did they connect with that learning to what they actually do here? And so we started doing it in groups, and probably get a group of 4 to 6 people taking the same class at the same time. And then we'd come in for 1 or 2 lunch and learns as they go through that class and talk about it as a group and help them see what they're learning and what it means when you go out on the floor and what they actually see and touch. And it became more alive to them, and the group started supporting each other in what they were seeing on a daily basis. So that took a really good program that we were getting some benefit out of it, and just the benefit became exponential at that point.
Well, I think that's great. I mean, our training, in my opinion, is some of the best you can get out there, and I want to encourage members to go out and look at it. One of the key areas, everybody always puts focus on technical training, but one of the key areas I want to encourage members to take a look at is our management training with Dr. Richard Marks online. It's 12 courses, about 20 to 30 minutes apiece. He's one of the best trainers in the country on business intelligence and management, personalities, and conflict. And he teaches our Yes Management Training Session 3 every single year, and it's always the Yes Management Training Group's class favorite session of the year. But if you've got someone managing 2 or more people in your plant, you need to make sure they go through his class. And if I was you, I would be getting your 5 top managers together, have them all watch each session, sit down like Don said, and talk to them. What did we learn? What are we not doing? And what can we change so we can better? Because here's what you need to know. People are not leaving their companies because of their company. They're leaving their companies because of their boss. And when you understand that, then you need to make sure that your bosses have the types of management skills to keep people to want to come to work every day. And are they coaches for them, not dictators? So training out there is very vital and very good. And what I love about the technical training is the more you get people involved in that and they start thinking up here knowledge-wise, they need less micromanagement, which does what? It frees your management up to go take care of really big issues they can, because you got people that actually understand how to think and diagnose heat treat. So training is big. If you want to be a part of that, you can call our office or email us and go to our website. So Jamie, now I know our monthly sales. I know solar's always been a big proponent in our monthly sales program. So how do y'all tend to use monthly sales to kind of guide your business?
Well, we look at it every month. We try and see where we're at in our market and in our in our chapter, and then we look where the trends are nationally. It's good to gauge where we're at compared to other people in our chapter to understand where the industry is going. It's very useful for us and how we do our management decisions, make our management decisions. Yeah.
Right. Well, right now, I think it's especially important because the number one thing I hear from people, and I say, what are you most worried about? And they'll say one word: uncertainty. And what I love about our sales trends and forecasting is we're partnered with one of the number 1 companies in the country, ITR. And every quarter, we just did one. They do a quarterly assessment and forecast that takes into account all the drivers of aerospace, automotive, agriculture, mining, everything that we heat treat. They do a 1, 2, 3 year forecast. And I know a lot of people say, well, how good's the forecast? Well, let me share with you. In the first quarter of 2017, they predicted that 2019 was going to be negative 1.90% loss. We're going to lose 1.9% in sales over 2018. Well, guess what? Guess where we ended up? From 2017, they predicted this. Negative 1.85% is what we ended up at. So these guys and these ladies are really good at what they do, and I hear nothing but great things about their webinars from our members. So members, if you're not involved in our monthly sales program, you need to be, and all you have to do is one thing. You submit your monthly sales number. It takes literally 2 minutes to log in and punch your sales number into our password-protected confidential system. No one sees any of your data except you, but you get to see the industry trends and the combined data. And here's the other powerful thing that I've seen, is it ranks your plant in your local market and in your national market, and it tells you what your percentage of sales are compared to the whole. So if you got 20 plants in your reporting district and you're number 18, wouldn't you like to sit down and put a competition to it and say, guys, ladies, we're number 18. Let's see what we can do to get up to number 15, and challenge your team through production, sales, whatever, to really rise your sales up to that 15th and kind like a top 20 list with college football, because we're not going to have that, right? You know, so
Unless you're in the SEC, Tom.
oh, that's right. SEC is going to bring it all. So, but I just want to unpack that, because that's what I think some members are missing, is you can really use that report to rally your team around gaining more market share in your district and nationally, and rallying them to want to be farther up the chain in rankings and stuff. So Jim, for you, I mean, what do like looking at sales reports and stuff do for a supplier? I think that's one of the big things of being a supplier member is you get that stuff as a part of your membership to see where your trends lie.
Yeah, it's actually really valuable. I mean, the forecast I love, and I agree with you that their modeling is really good, because they look at the successes or failures of their model and readjust their model, so it's continuously improving. They do a really good job. So that's one of the things I always enjoy when they go through the quarterly forecast. So the numbers are great too. It says a lot. It tells you a lot about the industry and where the strengths and where the weaknesses are. So you can tell when the oil patch is hurting. You can tell when the automotive industry is hurting. You can kind of gauge from an aerospace standpoint just based on the reportings in those areas. So it, as a supplier, it gives you a little bit an opportunity to either to focus in on a business segment, or on an area. So it's extremely valuable. I mean, so it's one of the things that we sit down and look at and strategize and see how we can utilize that data.
One of the big things that we try and push out there is I asked ITR one time. I said, if an individual company came to you and asked you to do what you do for us so that they could have the trends, what would it cost them? And the number was $20,000 you'd have to pay them to get the data, to get the trending, to be able to forecast like they do for us. And here's the cool thing about us. We don't charge members a dime for it. It's just included in their dues. So that's just if you just joined MTI or you just do that benefit alone, what it means to you is 10 times what you pay in dues and stuff. So very valuable benefit. I appreciate those comments. Now, Don, you look like you got something to say. You got that look on your face.
You can read my mind, Tom. I wanted to, that and the chat works really well. So no, I had one other thing that's been brought up earlier, but I want to put it in this context as far as a resource, and maybe we don't think of it as a resource. I think what Jim and some others said about the other members. And these are the things that we've gone over here about the different resources. Those are all wonderful things, but to me, the number one resource are the other members, and being able to pick up that phone and call another member. And as Tom, you said, we could call, if I got a call from someone that I've never heard of before, never met, and they told me they're an MTI member, I'd spend whatever time on the phone talking to them and helping them and getting to know them. But it is so great to be able to pick up the phone and call a friend, somebody that we really know. And I throughout this whole thing, and just even before this, I've taken advantage of that. And so coming to the meetings and getting to and serving on the board or doing whatever it is, and really getting to know people and have that personal relationship, there's no better resource than that. And that goes for as a commercial heat treater, it goes for the other commercial heat treaters, and also for the suppliers. To be able to call one of the top people in that, whatever industry that is, and be able to get right to the top of that company and talk to somebody there if I want to. MTI is just an open door to be able to do that. And that is, to me, the number one resource of all.
Well, you mentioned a good point, Don, about especially our meetings, is that a lot of times during the year, the only person you as an owner really get to see is the salesperson of a supplier. But when you go to an MTI meeting, you're getting to rub elbows and talk with and have a good time with the presidents of those companies and the chief executive officers of those companies. So right. I think that's another powerful thing about being at the meeting, is you're getting to hear the big perspective of people that are at the top of those companies. Now, just to finish up that thought, two things that members probably aren't thinking of that I've heard stories around is I've heard stories where members were coming to a certain city and they would call Don and say, Don, I'm actually going on vacation. I'm passing through Alabama. I would love to stop in and you give me a tour of your plant, just have some time. Would you be able to do that? And I've heard many members say they've been able to jump into members, but I've also heard a story where a member called another member across the coast and said, hey, I've heard you at a meeting. I've heard about you. I'd really like to have some time. Would you be willing to come out here and hang at my plant for a couple of days and just give us some input? And the members like, no question, I'm out there. And I've had some even say they paid for it on their own dime to get out there because they just were enjoying seeing a new member. So that's just going back and reiterating what you're saying, Don, is the power of having a trust level with members that they can come in and help you in your company is big.
Well, both of those examples I've experienced personally. And then another, I was wanting to buy a type of furnace, a type of technology that we had never done before. We're not comfortable with it. Talking with the manufacturer, and that was good. But I called up a couple of members and went up to the Midwest and went in plants and saw those furnaces in operation and spent a day in each plant talking to their operators and getting comfortable with it from an operational and safety standpoint. I would have never had the confidence to pull the trigger on that project. You know, it'd have been a lot harder without those people inviting me into their plant and being willing to do that for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So any other comments on that? And I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. All right, so I want to ask. I don't know if anybody will know the answer to this, but someone asked a question in the Q&A as to anybody have any idea if they shut the post office down in any way, any impact on heat treating at all? That's kind of an out of the box question.
Invoices coming in and invoices going out would hurt.
Absolutely. Well, and then you're going to need email addresses to every accounts payable company you have.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we wouldn't be getting our bills either. So.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe it's a wash.
It's a wash, Don. I do think that's the direct subtle thing is that, you know, anything that comes to the mail. But I mean, obviously, I don't think members are shipping a lot of parts and stuff through the postal service. I think, but bills and accounts payable and receivables, those are big, huge things. Now, Buster from in Texas said, this is a good question. So, when many new people in new roles, especially in companies you work with, what are you doing to make sure you're part of the new supply chain that pops back in with your company? I mean, what kind of things are you doing to stay in contact, make sure you're the supplier?
I'll jump on that one real quick. Anytime we get a new inquiry in, we send a Zoom invite out. We get them on the phone and we meet them. They're now able to meet our whole staff. It's worked out very, very well.
That's awesome.
So it's all Zoom.
Anything else from any of you?
We usually have more than one contact at a certain, customer or whatnot. So if there is a change, there's usually somebody else that says, oh, this person isn't here anymore. This is the new person in that role. And that way there's no lost communication.
Right. Awesome. So now let's switch because we're running around in turn 4. So now let's switch a little bit to the final thing I want to talk about, which is FNA 2020 virtual. I mean, Furnaces North America is the largest trade show and conference every other year that we put on. We get 1,800 people, great exhibit booths with 170 or so. And we had to go to virtual because of COVID. The board made a big decision in July. And I know heat treating is such a physical, equipment driven. A lot of people are asking, Tom, how do we shake hands through the computer screen? And but here's the great thing. We've had over 80 suppliers jump in and say, you know what, this is our chance to learn how to do digital commerce and do digital marketing because this is where it's going. Live shows are going to still be around. FNA 2022 in Indianapolis is still going to happen, but digital commerce happening all the time. This is how it's going to happen over time. And we're getting a chance here to get suppliers and attendees like Don and Jamie and Jim Orr who would buy furnaces want to be there. And FNA is going to have a great dynamic set of 37 technical sessions, 4 live sessions, and you got 80 plus exhibitors that you can walk around and watch product demonstration videos for 7 to 10 minutes. It's just lots of information that you can grab. Going back to what Jim Oakes said, getting the content that your people need to be better at their job. So Jim Orr and Don, I've seen your registrations. You guys jumped in and put in like 8, 9 people from your companies on our $49 special that ends Monday. Why did you put 8 or 9 people into the program?
Well, I'll start off on that. First, Tom, I want to thank you for pushing the FNA digital. Would be my favorite thing to do, but we've got to do something. The easy decision would have been, let's just not do anything and wait to 22. So we look at it. We've got a whole bunch of people at our plant that are not going to go to an FNA. For multiple reasons, they're never going to go. Now for $49, $49. I can register people. They can go in. They don't have to watch the whole thing, but if they pick up one or two good things, phenomenal. What they may be able to do for that, for themselves and for the company. And I mean, this is a 3-day event, and it's 5 hours a day. So for $49, we can guarantee you that you won't see one political advertisement whatsoever for 3 days. And while you're at it, if you're feeling generous, I want to put a plug in from the treasurer for the foundation. There's a little box you can click. So since you're getting such a deal at $49, how about throwing 25 in for the foundation? Because the foundation has really done well this year in awarding scholarships, and we're going to hurt for next year. We're not having the events. We're just not being able to do it. So we need your help. We need to support this. We need to support it for our suppliers. Hop online, go get on, visit your suppliers, say hi, say thanks, meet somebody at that place you haven't seen.
Absolutely. Don Hendry, what about you?
Yeah, one thing, and I don't know how many people on this realize, we pulled the plug on the Louisville trade show, probably 1st of July, middle of July, I don't know. But the planning on the virtual Furnaces North American started probably the 1st of April.
Yeah.
Tom knew that was a possibility, and we didn't wait till July to start scrambling and putting that together. When we pulled the plug on the Louisville show, Tom already had everything put together for the virtual show. So it became a much easier thing. So kudos to Tom and his team for getting ahead on that, because I would have said, gosh, by the end of September, this thing's going to be long, way behind us. And I would have been really wrong. But the $49 thing, if we had a show in Louisville, there'd have been 2 or 3 of us from our company there, and it'd been really great for the 2 or 3 of us. But for $49, even though we can't be there in person, it might not be quite the experience. But now I've got, I think it was 15 people I signed up.
Yeah.
And we're going to have some of those things, kind of like the online training, where we're going to get together in the conference room and watch these things together, whether it's the technical sessions or the other sessions, and do it as a team. And it's going to expose, it won't maybe be, like say, as good as being there in person in a booth with somebody. But now I've got 12 more people in my organization that are going to get a vision of what our industry is and what all's out there, and the different suppliers and the technology that is out there that are possibilities for us. So I think in the long run, it's going to be much more powerful experience brought back to our company than if just 2 or 3 of us were exposed to it.
Absolutely. Well, I know, Jim Orr, you're a big fan of Kenneth Grombach, who's going to have for a 30-minute session on the second day, just talking about demographics and COVID and how it's going to change everything in the future. So give a little 60 seconds on what you're thinking there.
Oh, Ken, last time we saw Ken was in Williamsburg, and I still remember him talking about demographics and just birth rates, and I thought he was one of the most interesting speakers I've ever seen. And Tom, I thank you for getting Ken lined up for such an economical program to come online and just give his half hour to everybody. Phenomenal content. We've mentioned the $49. Ken alone is worth the $49, and we probably haven't mentioned that $49 enough, but it's a great deal, everybody. Sign people up.
No hotels, no airfare. No.
Here's the thing. That $49 rate ends at midnight on August 31st. So make sure you tune in. Go to furnacesnorthamerica.com and click the registration button. You can register everybody in one quick registration form and get your teams. And here's what's cool. If you just want people to go in and look at booths and watch product demonstration videos and read technical documents, you can do that for free. I'd have every furnace operator online just say, look, just go into the exhibit hall and just pick in and out and watch videos and watch technical documents and come back and tell us what you thought was interesting, what you learned, and how we could do things better here. And then if anybody you want to push into the technical sessions, you just pay the $49 per person, and they'll have full access in that. So
it's more than the technical sessions. There's so many other things that people can see on it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll give it, you got 10 seconds. One final thing, if they take one thing away from this from this session? Each of you, one final thing. Jim Orr.
Reach out to one of your fellow members.
Don Hendry.
And get involved however we can now through Furnaces North America. And when we can get face to face, you know, it's kind of like the first time our church opened up and we could actually attend worship service for the first time in months. I just realized, you know, how much I valued that. And I hope we'll do the same thing with things like MTI and getting together with our fellow heat treaters. Come to the meetings.
Absolutely. Jamie Jones.
How are you capping Ken at 30 minutes? He can talk for 2 hours without taking a breath.
I have an off button. He may be in the middle of a sentence, but it's going off in 30 minutes.
No, again, I can't thank the membership enough, and you know, the board of trustees, all the committees, the executive team. It's been a tough year, an interesting year, but I'm proud of everybody that's been a part of it.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. And our illustrious president, Jim Oakes, what's the last word?
So the only thing that I'll say is that the board and the executive committee and Tom Morrison Associates don't have all the answers. And we don't know what all the needs are. So I'd encourage you, we had a great question that came from Buster. There's a lot of other questions out there where we need to engage somebody to provide more content back to the membership. That's what this organization is all about. So take the time, provide that feedback. Let us know what that is. We'll make the right decision. We'll get the information and disseminate that out to the members, whether through webinar, whether through content on that comes on a daily send through MTI or whatever the mechanism is. So that's what I would say.
Well, speaking of that, giving members the right content after doing what I call active listening. So you're not going to want to miss on September 22nd, members, at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're having a session called Civility, Sensitivity, and Respect in the Workplace. Race and the times we live in is a huge deal. We have such diverse plants, and I've already had some stories from members that had some incidents happen that 10 years ago wouldn't have been a big deal, but today it's a huge deal, and it's just nobody's real fault. It's just we're in changing times. So we've got a great speaker who's going to be on our live webcast like this, who's going to deal with civility, respect, and in the workplace, so that members can get the kind of information, training, and see what kind of things need to shift, so you don't have any bad things happen in your plants for no reason. So make sure to tune in. You'll get your invites. I'd have everybody tune into that. We'll have it replayed, and you can play it later on. But as I always say, members, thanks for these guys for their leadership for this past year. We're going to have another again next year. And you're not strong, you're MTI strong. We're always here for you. Our goal is your success. Have a great day, and thanks for tuning in.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Yeah.